And now, now we should be good. I think I'm gonna talk for a couple more seconds. Let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. We should be good at this point. Um, it helps to click live in both of the places that you need to click live in order to go live. Okay, thank you all for bearing with me. Thanks, Salmar, for a confirmation. Let me be sure we're all situated. Alright, I can see chat. I can see all of my stuff here. Alright, give me just a second to gather my nerves after that. I was losing it trying to figure out what was wrong. Yep. Alright. Alright, we're good to go. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is going to be a design stream. I'm going to talk through my process for creating a new legacy artifact for Veil of the Eternal Night. I'm going to talk through it from its very initial conception to completion for MythCraft. I don't think I'm going to have time to write it for both MythCraft and D&D over the next couple hours, but I'll at least get it all situated for MythCraft, at least as much as I can in a 2-hour window. In case you're joining and you don't know what Veil of the Eternal Night is, Veil of the Eternal Night is a massive gothic, grimdark, vampire horror campaign written for both MythCraft and 5th edition D&D from level 1 to maximum level, 30 in MythCraft, 20 in D&D. It's live on Kickstarter right now, and we are just a hair shy of unlocking our next stretch goal, which is the... I said that and it went up. We are even closer of a hair shy from unlocking our next stretch goal, the lycanthrope class. So that'll be a whole class where if you're, regardless of what your lineage is, you might be a human or a dwarf or a halfling or a hondu, and you get bitten and cursed and turned into a lycanthrope. And so that'll be a lot of fun. If we hit that, tentatively when we hit that at this point, we're really, really close. I might put together another design stream and talk through some of my process there, but writing a whole class takes more than 2 hours, so I'm not going to sit down and write the whole class live, but I'll definitely look at doing another stream and talking through some of the design choices that I'm considering at that point. For tonight, though, I'm going to design the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. I'm sorry, the Sovereign's Orb. I am excited to get into this item. I don't know very much about the actual history of the Sovereign's Orb, or whatever it's actually called in, like, real-world history. You can see an image of it here on screen. Usually my design process involves some YouTube video rabbit holes going down like historical documentary kind of like channels and mythological lore channels and some of that kind of stuff. I'm for obvious reasons, I'm not going to stream myself watching YouTube on YouTube. I assume that violates some kind of law. I'm just not going to mess with it. But I may go through and watch some videos after I do this and update the item accordingly. But for now, I'm just going to stream as I do my outline process. I'll stream as I look up stuff on Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica. You can watch YouTube on YouTube? Well, okay, maybe we'll do that. Cody is the YouTube expert, so we may give that a try. Okay. Oh, good point. Reaction videos, yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that then. Let's see. I'm gonna leave this screen shared for the duration of the video, and that's going to be a little bit challenging for me because I'm used to spreading out on. I have a nice like 3 monitor setup, so I'm used to putting an image up and then putting like a couple different drafting things on different sides. So I mean, maybe I'll simulate that by part screening. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the night takes us. Um, all right, so that's an introduction to Veil of the Eternal Night. That's an introduction to what I'm gonna do here for the next couple hours. Let's start with the lore of the. I'm gonna keep calling it the Holy Hand Grenade, the Sovereign's Orb. This thing, this ball, this golden ball. What is it? Nobody knows. I should say I'm sure somebody somewhere does know, but I was quick like kind of backstory with this item. I was fortunate enough to travel. I know we all want a holy hand grenade, right? I was fortunate enough to get to travel Europe back in 2017, 2018, that academic year, and especially in Eastern Europe, the like in the area of the former Habsburg Empire. There are a lot of these little guys just lying around in museums, in palaces, and there were little like plaques that kind of explained them. I didn't read in detail because there were also suits of armor and swords and architecture. Like there was a lot to take in, and I still am more interested in weaponry, but I'm now regretting that I didn't take the time to go through and read those plaques in more detail. I do vaguely recall one plaque that I saw that literally said nobody knows why these things exist. Blame the aliens, whatever you want to do. I'm sure somebody knows, but I just thought that was really funny, and I'm running with it. My general impression is that the Holy Hand Grenade is just a like sign of royal status, maybe of I think of like approval from I assume the Catholic Church. Like if you get right, maybe it's alien orb technology. We don't know. But my headcanon of history is that when a duke or a viscount or a prince became like sworn in, officiated, coronated, especially like kings and emperors, they had their whole crowning ceremony, usually from a pope or from the pope or from like a cardinal or someone in the Catholic Church. And so my best guess before I do any research into this item is that this orb is just another symbol of the I guess the marriage between church and state, or the cooperation between church and state, cooperation in the medieval and Renaissance era of Europe. Symbol of the crown being bestowed. Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard about like someone from the church literally putting the crown on the head of the king. Is it shows that like they're approved, like the king is approved by God to go and rule on God's like behalf. I've heard very similar things. I just don't know exactly where the orb plays into that. Like you've got your crown, you've got your scepter, you've got your orb. I think they're just all symbols of divinely ordinated power. So I sorry if this pains any of you. I am going to start on Wikipedia because it's not a bad starting point. For detailed research, especially for academic research, it is a bad ending point, but I don't think it's a bad starting point. So let's find out. Let's see if I can find out a little bit more about this orb. I'll go to Encyclopedia Britannica after this, and then I'll see if there's some other like blog posts or the like that. Yeah, the bottom of the page usually has a lot of good resources. So we'll see where this goes for the next few minutes. Oh, and let me get this going. One of my common like I'm sure most of you do this, but like when I'm designing something, especially, I'll try to find mood music that reflects what I'm working on. So like and I'll take creative liberties with it, right? Like the Plague Doctor, I listened primarily to like instrumental death metal, just to get in like a groove and run with it. So for this, I put together a list of Gregorian chants and like church cathedral like pipe organ stuff, and a couple vampire soundtracks from the Foundry streams I've done. So I'm gonna get that going. If you could let me know real quick if it's balanced with my voice. I don't have a great way of I don't have a great way of being able to tell if that's kind of a good if the music is too loud, if it's all right. Um, and then we'll jump in and get going with some research here. Sounds good. All right, let me know if it gets too loud and I'll move it around. Okay. Barely hear it, but can hear it is kind of where I want it to be. I'll crank it just a tiny bit. All right, thanks. Let's go. Sovereign's Orb. Habsburgs. Royal Collection Trust. That might be a resource I check out later. Crown Jewels isn't gonna be it. Let's start here and see if I can find a reference. Yeah, well, the Holy Roman Emperor. The Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire, but okay. The Imperial Crown. The orb doesn't have a link. See, no one knows what it is. The Scepter of Austria. Yeah, maybe a reverse image search should work. Holy Lance of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, Empire of Austria is fascinating, but not what we're looking for right now. See if there's a reference about the orb down here. Not seeing one. Are the Habsburgs they're still around? I thought sorry for being crass, but I thought they inbred themselves out of existence. Huh. Maybe I will tweet them. Oh, let's go. We got the werewolf. Amazing. Thank you. There's a lot of letters and numbers. Disoy77. Thank you so much. That's amazing. So excited to see that. That's amazing, Jan. Maybe I'll just reach out to them after this and see what they have to say about the orb. They're probably going to tell me it's aliens. Again, the orb is not showing up. Yeah, let's try a reverse an image search and see where that gets us. Imperial Orb of the Austrian Imp. There we go. Well, there's nothing there. I picked this one because I felt like it was going to be a little bit of a challenge to find relevant information. Walled. Nope. I mean, okay, these are just files, not articles. It's just uploaded. Okay, maybe tweeting the Habsburgs is literally the best. You know, I'm gonna do it right now, and we'll see if they get back to me while I'm streaming. Let's see. Hey, Habsburgs. What's their Twitter handle? Let me find that. I'm gonna have to open this on a different tab so that it has my personal login saved. Just a minute here. This is gonna be hilarious if this gives us like actual good information. Search Habsburgs. The Habsburg monarchy. The apple of the nation. Okay. That kind of makes sense. The Habsburg let's see. Bastard. I'm gonna I'm gonna add a couple different accounts here because I think it's Edward Habsburg, but it might be the Habsburg monarchy. I can't believe I'm doing this. At the Habsburg monarchy. Hey Habsburgs, I'm curious. What's up with the orb? I'm researching it, but can't find much on the internet. Was it the Pope or aliens? Thanks in advance. Sent. Alright, we'll see where that gets us. Alright, let's see. Because that reverse Google search, that was a really good idea, Spaz. It's a bummer that didn't really get us anywhere. Try a couple more. You know, Githyanki is a good idea. That makes sense to me. Pinterest isn't really gonna do much. There's one more Wikipedia. Nope. Is this linked to any articles? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, let's try Encyclopedia Britannica. If that doesn't work, I'm just going to kind of go on like the basic impression that I have of what this item is, and it's going to be almost purely just fantastically imagined instead of purely like researched. Oh wait, we had this other article on the Sovereign's Orb. Off, necessary, allow. No, not, okay, whatever. This is just a tweet. I might as well tweet the Pope while I'm at it, right? It's called, Riechsapfel in German. Globus Cruciger, also known as the Sphira or the Orb and Cross. That's getting us somewhere, thank you. Oh, here we go, here we go. Thank you, Jan. I know, cookies, I clicked the wrong button there. Christian symbol of authority since the Middle Ages, used on coins in iconography and with a scepter as royal regalia. which is what we were talking about. Um, oh, that's cool. I always wondered why it was like the hand grenade shape that it was. That makes a lot of sense. It's like the symbolism of the cross over the world held in like a worldly ruler's hand. Um, Holding the worlds in or under one's foot. That's imagine like if Pendragon, one of our dark mythic monsters, gets his hand on this and then just uses it as a footstool. Like the imagery to that's potent. Hadrian, Constantine, those are some good guys. Globus Cruciger, literally the globe and the cross. That'd be some really cool art. Pendragon like taking that for himself. Wants to learn about the Church of England. Um, let's see. Yeah, the Holy Roman Emperor used it. In Denmark, the Holy Roman, all of these different regions, it is still depicted not only in the arms of European polities for which a monarchy survives. Okay, so like the now the King of England. Um, okay, so that was great. Knowing what is it again? The well, Globus Cruciger is helpful, and that other term, Rigsapel, was helpful. Description: the sovereign's orb is a hollow gold sphere mounted with a zone and arc with clusters of gems surrounded by more gems in an enamel mount. This is not historical so much as just a description of literally what the image is. Got it, got it, got it. Okay. Still cool. It's pretty. That's a really nice image. Um, yeah, the English monarchy does have one for sure. Um, I have not heard back from the Habsburgs yet. Let's see. Yeah, any surviving European monarchy that's still in existence probably has it, right? Yeah. Ooh, that's an old website. Wow. There is no separate papal orb. Okay. Let me see if that's. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Tower of London. Um, when I was doing my Europe travels, I was based in London. I actually never made it to the Tower of London, which I'm really sad about. I definitely want to go back sometime and explore that place. Um, but I went to the Buckingham Palace and other places like that. I don't recall actually seeing one because I think it is in the Tower of London, but I saw the ones that I saw were in the Habsburg territory. Um, what is the orb that the? Okay, I'm getting conflicting information now. Who would have thought the internet has conflicting information? It says the Globus Cruciger um, is held by the Pope, but then this one says there is no separate papal orb. I don't know. I'm probably not going to trust this dinosaur of a web page. Let's go back and look at other related articles. Here we go. Coronation symbols explained. William the Conqueror's army decimated the troops of King Harold in the Battle of Hastings. Draped in the robe of the estate, King Charles III will take his seat on the coronation chair with a jewel-encrusted scepter. Oh, this is modern. This is Charles III, not Charles II, right? For as long as... yeah, ceremonies and symbols. One of my favorite ways to differentiate someone who's, like, royal or has authority over someone who does not is the hieratic scale used in, like, Egyptian mosaics and things of that nature, where the size of the illustration shows how important it is in comparison to other people. So you'll have like the pharaoh being 3 times the size of other people. That's not related to what we're doing now, just a fun thought. I like that. I like the hieratic scale. I think it's fun. Here we go. The Sovereign's Orb, a symbol that predates the Norman conquest. The Sovereign's Orb, an example of a globus cruciger. Okay, squares and rectangles. Globus cruciger is a rectangle. Sovereign's Orb is a square. I know it's a sphere. I know it's a sphere, but you understand the metaphor I'm doing there. First used in investitures for King Henry II of Germany and the Holy Roman Emperor in 1014. As such, the orb is a symbol that transcends the particularity of, of Britishness, right? Reign over the Christian world, yeah. Ooh, this is some good information. In the form of a 2.7-pound golden ball with 9 emeralds, 18 rubies, 9 sapphires, 365 diamonds, and 375 pearls, the Sovereign's Orb puts the symbolic weight of the world into the king's hands. Oh, fascinating. Okay, and it divides it into Europe, Africa, and Asia. I'm gonna grab that real quick for future reference. That's very helpful. Obviously, the regions are going to be different because Gothandia is fictional. Some of them are definitely hollow, Brandon. But yeah, I'm not sure. Again, apparently Sovereign's Orb and Globus Cruciger are slightly different. Globus Cruciger is just anything with that ball and cross shape, whereas Sovereign's Orb is specifically for coronation. So maybe one of those is typically hollow and one of those is solid. Yeah, it's a heavy thing when it's solid. Let's see. Will this be added to the Kickstarter as a new item, or is this a rule of thought? This is going to be part of Veil of the Eternal Night. This is one of the legacy artifacts. Like, if you go to the demo that we have, we've got Blessed Wind, Sword of the Skies. This item that levels up with you as you go on your adventure. The Sovereign's Orb is going to be another option for one of those artifacts that levels up with you. Yeah, the article here said, I think it said Weight of the World somewhere in here as well. I think that's some intentional imagery, aside from just being a lot of gold and showing that you're wealthy. The object is designed to remind the incoming monarch that their power is conferred by God. When placed in its right hand, and now it's back to being a hollow sphere, indicates Charles the Oh, well, right, this is the specific one for the UK. It will indicate Charles III's role as defender of the faith and supreme governor of the Church of England. Interesting. Okay, now we're getting into modern British monarchic politics. which is interesting, but is a different conversation. All right, I think we've got enough to start on some of the actual design. I think that the only other thing I need to do first, because it is legal, as Cody brought up, and I can't remember who else mentioned this. Maybe it was Corey. Let me get this set up real quick. This is important research.
The thinking you have powers that you...
We have the holy hand grenade.
Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch. It is one of the sacred relics Brother Maynard carries with him. Brother Maynard, bring up the holy hand grenade.
Pie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem.
Gregorian
Pie
chants
Jesu
throughout
Domine, dona eis
this
requiem. Pie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem. Pie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem.
How does it work?
I know not, my liege.
Consult the Book of Armaments.
Armaments, Chapter 2, verses
Such a
9
good
to
name.
21.
And Saint Attila raised the hand grenade up on high, saying, O Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, that with it thou mayst blow thine enemies to tiny bits in thy mercy.
In thy mercy.
And the Lord did grin, and the people did feast upon the lambs, and sloths, and carp, and anchovies, and orangutans, and breakfast cereals, and fruit bats, and large...
Skip a bit, brother.
And the Lord spake, saying, First shalt thou take out the holy pin, then shalt thou count to 3, no more, no less. 3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, neither count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3. 5 is right out. Once the number 3, being the third number, be reached, then lobbest thou thy holy hand grenade of Antioch towards thy foe, who, being naughty in my sight, shall snuff it.
Amen.
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 Right. 1, 2, 5.
3, sir.
3 son.
3.
Amazing. All right, I feel like we've gotten a pretty good handle on what this orb is all about. I'm still not fully convinced that Githyanki and aliens don't have something to do with it. But the idea of the Globus Cruciger, or the Sovereign's Orb, just... Hang on. Okay, we're good, sorry. The idea of the Globus Cruciger, or the Sovereign's Orb, representing the world and religion. Christianity obviously isn't a thing in Ansera, so the iconography might need to be a little bit different, or we need to come up with a different in-world justification for why it's a cross. And I've got some ideas there, but I've got to do a little bit more lore writing before I lock anything in there. Let's see. When I am designing, there is a crucifix. Yeah. So a crucifix is one of the artifacts that we'll be developing, and so definitely cross imagery is going to be a thing. I haven't fully cemented the in-world reasons for why it is a thing, and whether it's directly related to some of the gods of Ansera or if it's related to something else. I've got a couple different ideas there. One of the symbols that is widely used in Ansera, in the religions of Ansera, is the tree of life, and so maybe it'll be an orb with like a little golden tree with emerald leaves and that kind of thing. Maybe it'll still just be the cross. That the exact imagery remains to be fully determined. Let's see. So I'm going to share a little bit about my general kind of design process from like a top-down level, and then we'll get in and do this for the orb itself. Yeah, so the tree itself is going to show up in a lot of different ways. It's a symbol closely associated with Tovare, who is the like head of the Celestial Council. Angel with outstretched wings. We've got some other stuff going on with angels for this campaign. So there's going to be a lot of different iconography and imagery. I think that the orb itself is either going to have a tree on it or is going to have a cross on it. So when I'm working on a class design or an item design, I think about the different things that a hero can contribute to a game. So that's like utility in exploration, utility in social situations, utility in figuring out more about the world. So that might be the rogue or the troubadour being a skill monkey. It might be psionic magic, being able to learn more about what's going on in different locations. It can take different forms. And then obviously there's combat. There's combat utility, being a support or control character or learning more about how your enemies work. There's direct combat offense and defense. There's healing, cleansing, buffing, debuffing. Cleansing is a term that we're using in MythCraft to refer to removing debuffs from your allies. So not necessarily buffing them, but nullifying their debuffs. So out of those different ideas, the other thing, there's I want the abilities to be fun. I also want the abilities to not be game breaking, at least not without some really careful like going through and finding every possible combination. If you watch Sanity Damage, which is my D&D, well, currently we're using D&D live stream that we do on Thursday nights, you will know that I made a legacy item fishing pole that Pippin took and just absolutely broke, and it's the most powerful item in the game now, like easily. Yes, it's fun, but it's also broken, and I can work with that in like a personal campaign because I can scale my monsters and stuff, but I don't want to put that in a published campaign module and then have everyone accidentally like steamroll Dracula and all of the other boss monsters that they might fight because an item just ends up being too strong. Alright, so out of those different like concepts for what an item or a class can add to the campaign, effect on fear and sanity is a really good idea. Yeah, I would rope that in with like buffing and debuffing. I want 3 to 5 item tracks that you can upgrade, like class tracks. I imagine many of you have read the demo already, but in case you haven't, the way these legacy artifacts work is you gain an artifact, and when you like bind yourself to the artifact, when you attune to it in 5e terms, you gain 1 enhancement, and then every 4 levels you gain an additional enhancement. So in MythCraft, if you get one at level 1, you have the potential to have up to 8 enhancements. So, for example, the Blessed Wind here is like a bastard sword. It has a reach of 10 feet, and it counts as silvered, adamantine, and evadrium, so that'll overcome different resistances. And it's a 10-foot like sword, which is just awesome, right? And then when you get, a very long sword. When you get enhancements, you might, let's just take an example from the Blessed Protector track. This improves its defensive capabilities. Let's say you get the sword at level 1, and then you take the parry enhancement. So you can spend reactive AP to ward off someone's weapon. And then at level 5, 4 levels later, you could use that same parry ability, but you could use it to block a weapon that's attacking one of your friends within 10 feet of you. So that's like the defensive side of the sword. But then if you want to go on like the damage output side, you could just make it a +2 weapon, a +3 weapon. There's various, you can improve its crit range, things like that. Various ways that you can build up this sword. The demo is free to download in case you don't have it already. Just go to theeternalnight.com. That'll take you to our Kickstarter page. Navigate using like the table of contents on that left side. You can navigate down to the demo, click on that, and then you'll be able to get a free download of this. Again, this is Veil of the Eternal Night is a grimdark gothic horror vampire campaign with all of these different legacy artifacts. A demo for it is free both in MythCraft and in D&D, so you can see kind of compare and contrast the two systems by doing that. Alright, so thinking about the Sovereign's Orb, the Globus Cruciger, I really like that term. I definitely want some buffing stats that just buff yourself when you hold it, representing your authority. So enhanced charisma, enhanced sanity, maybe enhanced luck. I'm not sure about that, but maybe I actually just thought about this. Maybe it gives you like an extra divine power, allowing you to upcharge your prayers more, like make your prayers more powerful just from holding it. So I'm thinking it would be really fun to add some kind of attack to this item, just to reference Monty Python. I don't know if I'll actually end up doing that or not, so let's get into some of the design here. Religion checks. Yeah, lots of good ideas in chat. That's awesome. Let's see. This is just some mind mapping software that I found that is pretty intuitive and is free. So it's my mind mapper of choice. And it just, I'm big on visualization, so this just helps me a lot figuring out what I want to do here. Auras are something that I've been considering with this item. I hesitate only because the Zealot already gets a lot of auras, and so, I don't know, maybe it would be cool to say, like, hey, as the wielder of the Sovereign's Orb, you get extra auras. And if you're already a Zealot, then you get even more auras. And if you're not a Zealot, then you get access to Zealot auras. That's something I've been toying with. I'm still undecided on that. That's true. It could enhance their auras somehow. So this is kind of the same mind mapping that I did for all of the different class tracks. It's just obviously on a smaller scale because the item is not as large. So let's see, we've got, we'll call it the authority track. And I'm just going to make a note here. This is going to be improve your own stats somehow. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to put religion checks in a different, yeah, I'll put that in a different category. Now, because you can, in theory, get up to 8 enhancements, I'm going to have between 3 and 5 tracks, and between 4 and 6 talents or enhancements per track. The reason I'm doing that is so that you can play through the entire campaign twice, or 2 different people could play through the entire campaign, and have the same base item that could evolve into 2 entirely different items by the end of it. I'm not going to do more than that because I still want it to thematically tie back into the same, like, base concept. And more than that gets more unwieldy. It starts turning into, like, a whole class instead of just an item. But that should put me around 16 to 20 talents over, or, not talents, enhancements overall. I'll probably rename that. This is just a placeholder. Oh, wait. It's going to come to me. There we go. That's good. Yeah, it's its own character in some ways. Religion, arcana, history, maybe politics, military. No, actually, I'm going to leave buffing for the next one. Basically a Zealot Light track. So you know what? We'll call it the Zeal track. Keep that thematically appropriate. Yeah, some kind of divination thing. That's a good idea, Brandon. Jan, that's a really cool idea. I don't know about that with the Sovereign's Orb particularly. No, I think you've convinced me. Like, let me work that into the Reliquary track. Now, resurrection and souls are not static. They're a lot more malleable. They break down, they deteriorate a lot more rapidly in the MythCraft setting. So talking to spirits of people from long ago may not be a thing. Alternatively, maybe they imbue a little bit of their essence into the... That's what they do. That's what they do. Right? By the power of St. Paul's toenails, I compel you. Yeah, it's a weird side of Christianity. A little bit of essence into the orb. Okay, let's think. Oh, okay. I've got one more I'm gonna start on, and this is gonna be the only one that has like a little bit of combat potential with it. Blinding, radiant damage. What else? Repelling, push people back. Radiance. Sparkle track. Censure, maybe. Banish, exile, scorn. Dominance. I like dominance. Very Latin. Yeah, thanks, Gabor. I like that a lot. So we've got 4 good tracks to work with here. And, reasonably good, like, fleshed out ideas for each one. So I'm gonna go through and create the enhancements for each one, just in, like, draft form. And then once... And by draft form, I mean kind of spitballing ideas, kind of like what I have up in these boxes, but do that enhancement by enhancement. And once those are all laid out, then I'll figure out kind of the mechanical balance by bouncing off of how powerful Blessed Wind is and using that as kind of a frame of reference. Let's go... Authority 1, improve if you're unfamiliar with MythCraft, prayers are basically like cantrips in D&D, but they're for specifically the divine source of magic. MythCraft has 5 different sources of magic that all work together in slightly different ways. So, yeah, looking at this, I think the Zeal track has some good, like, combat utility, buff, debuff. Reliquary is primarily social utility and, like, world awareness utility. Dominance has combat, direct aggression. And the Authority track, I think, is going to be where you get into some spell casting. Augment your spells a little bit. So, Authority 2. So this track will let you, yeah, improve your charisma, get some additional prayers, improve your sanity, get some additional rituals, improve your charisma again, and up power your prayers, get them to a higher divine power. And I think I know where this one is gonna end. I'm trying to figure out what to do for the 4th one here. I think we'll say improve... Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to communicate this, but there are, like, half-formed thoughts in my head that are connecting at a rate that isn't quite enough for me to explain my thought process at this moment. I'm gonna move this ability down here. Cast your prayers from this item. And higher divine power. And I'm gonna change this one to gain some, if I can spell, there we go, skill points. Again, just showing the idea of like your authority over social situations. Now the authority 5 is going to be it's going to be one of those respec things, 1 per week-ish. You can prayers and rituals. Alright, so on that track, I ended up not doing anything with mental defenses at all, other than just like charisma boosting your willpower. But I think I'm gonna move that to the items like base. When you first get it, your mental defenses go up. Reliquary. Let's see what we can do with the hair of Saint Mary of Magdalene. Improve charisma. Remove that, otherwise I'm just going to be thinking about charisma. Gain some skill points from that list, and no, you know what? I really want to start with that idea that Jan brought up. Now, that's just kind of a lore decision. What does that do? What does it do to have your essence connected to the essence of those that came before you? It does exactly what my original idea was. Just giving it a really fun lore reason for why that happens. I should ask, you guys are throwing out ideas in chat. You don't mind if I, like, use them, right? Like, a lot of these are really good ideas. Tell me otherwise, but I'm gonna assume it's okay for me to take stuff from chat and put it in as I'm going through this. But I understand if you want to hang on to your own ideas for homebrewing. And then, so some skill points at the first reliquary. And then, alright, sounds good. Thank you, Chan. Yeah, it's so cool. Such a good idea. Let's see, I want to put one more thing, because just having, like, bonus skill points isn't that great. Actually, no, what? That is enough if, that could be interesting. I'll play around with that. That's just, again, we're in draft phase right now. We'll polish these up a little bit on my next pass here. I'm so excited that we hit werewolf. That's awesome. Or lycanthrope. Sorry, just glanced over and saw that. Alright, we've got Reliquary 1. Reliquary 2. This is where we'll add the potential for healing and cleansing features. actually. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll make that relatively powerful when we get there, but that's all it's gonna do. Reliquary 3. Hopefully not so powerful that Pippin just breaks the game. I should... I think I did this with some of the classes early on when I was designing it last spring. I think I handed it to Pippin and TJ, and I was like, try to find game-breaking combinations and let me know what I need to patch. I may do that with these items, because, again, Pippin's record on that fishing pole in our sanity damage stream is unreal. Fishing poles equal power. It's ridiculous. Okay, so you gain more control over which skill points you have. You kind of rest all of the voices into kind of an organized parliament instead of just like a shouting match. Yeah, it's really great having optimizers to break things so that I can fix them until they're breakable enough that they're fun to break, but not so breakable that they ruin the rest of the game. Alright, let's see. Gain more control over skill point allocation. See the world around you a little bit more. Maybe... I think post-cognition could be really fun with that. Make the healing and cleansing a little bit stronger. Yeah, some kind of... I might actually not make the healing and cleansing... You know what? Here's what I think I'm gonna do, looking at this, because there's so much potential, like, awesomeness with this reliquary track. I'm gonna move healing and cleansing to the main, like, base feature. And that's just gonna be what you start out with. Because I feel like that's going to be something everyone wants, and I don't want to make them do a 2-talent dip into Reliquary if they really want to focus on authority or dominance, for example. So that'll just be the base item. Now back to Reliquary. Exactly what you said, Pixelgeist. Is that? Yeah, Pixelgeist. More luck points as the voices in your head guide you. Reliquary 4. Just a little bit more awareness of the world around you. Yeah, Spirit Guardians, that's one of my favorite spells in 5th edition. I love it as a player. I often roll my eyes at it as a DM, but it is a really good spell. It's really fun. It's great area control. Well, yeah, so right now I'm only writing for MythCraft, but this item will be available in both settings, so something like Spirit Guardians may appear in, like, the Dominance track, and then maybe the Dominance track in 5th edition might just say, you gain the Spirit Guardian spell, or you get an extra casting of it for free, like that kind of thing. Yeah, lots of good description you can do with it. If you check out one of my player characters from Power Word Fail, another one of the live streams that we did on the Homebrew Network, he is a Goliath named Atreides, and his whole thing is he believes himself to be a god. And he's a philosopher, a god of like the storm of emotion and thought, but that manifests itself as like actual thunder and lightning in combat. So he's a Tempest cleric, and his spirit guardians is basically just going like Thor mode, like lightning springs out from his body. That's how I flavored it. It's a very flavorful spell. All right, Reliquary 5. I had an idea for it and got sidetracked with Spirit Guardians. It'll come back to me though. Just give me a second. Just jamming out to the music, waiting for the idea to come back. I was thinking about some Resurrection stuff. Resurrection is much more difficult in MythCraft than 5th edition. I also don't want it to be super common. So I'm thinking this this item doesn't really focus on that, but it does focus on... The idea came back. That's delightful. Decayed flying monkeys that crawled out of your goblin's mouth. And storm of flower petals. Those are awesome flavors. Alright, I've got some cool ideas there. That's a lot for one talent, though. I think this may be a split track. That feels better. I feel like giving all of that is too much, but both of those are really cool and really valuable. I think gaining different talents is more powerful than gaining different skills, so I'll have to figure out a way to counteract that a little bit. But I'll figure that out when we get to the more serious drafting part. I had a note here. What was it? Oh, it's just... Yeah, the value of the orb. The amount of stuff in the orb. Okay. Yeah, thanks for joining me. I'm really enjoying this. I've never done a design stream before, so I was really nervous about it. Like, for the last hour leading up to it, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know how this is gonna go. But it's been really fun, and I'm really enjoying seeing, like, the ideas pop up in chat. Especially how it led to the reliquary being what it is now. I think that's really fun. Let's see, Zeal track, aura enhancements. Okay, gain and we'll say gain 2 auras. kind of like spell slots. Like, you've got a couple different options, but you only have 2 slots per day. It's a good starting point. Whoop. Now some kind of aura enhancement. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with Zeal 2. I'm actually going to break that into Zeal 2 and 3, because that does a lot. And I'll just figure out which one goes in 2 and which one goes in 3 when I look at, when I open up the core rulebook and check exactly what all of the auras can do. Thanks for staying up with me. At least it's the weekend now, right? So hopefully that'll... Wow, 1 a.m. You're a trooper, I appreciate it. Alright, Zeal 4. Easy enough. I might actually... switch those around. That works out pretty nicely. Right, you get some auras, you improve them, you get more auras, you improve them, and then, let's see, extended, yeah, extended range could, work really well, thank you. Extended range is already an option for a talent that they can take, but, I mean, if you're going for a build where you just have, like, 120-foot aura, like, that's just your thing, then, yeah, that could work out really well. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Zeal 5. What is left? I think this is what I want to do for it. Makes your bloodied allies gain even more benefit from Zeal. That's cool. I like that. It doesn't quite do enough compared to, like, the other, I'll call them, like, mini capstones. Authority 5 might need to be brought up just a little bit too, because, like, these ones are substantial. Maybe this one just needs to be brought down. This one's the problem child. So maybe that's actually fine. Have half the village shielded. That's a really cool image, actually. I really like that. Okay, so I feel like Authority 5, Reliquary 5A, and Zeal 5 are going to be pretty easy to bring to the same power level. I feel like Reliquary 5B is still too strong, but I think I have a good way to fix it. I hope that will jog my memory when we come back to it. We'll come back to it in just a minute. First, we've got the dominance track. And this is the whole Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch from the Book of Armaments. Ooh. Hang on. Just had an idea for this. I feel like Dominance 3 is the right place for it. Can overlay that with Zeal 1 and just have multiple auras going at once from this thing. Five, 10, 11, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we're already up to 2 completely different items. So I think we're going to stop it at 21. And I might... No, I think that's the right size for this item. Gives you plenty... Basically, if you go from level 1 to 30 with this item, you'll be able to max out one of these tracks and then go halfway with another one of these tracks. I think that's appropriate. I'll double check that against Blessed Wind here in just a second, but that feels like right about the same level. Where do we go from here, though? I guess... Alright, we've got enough of an outline now. 21 talents here, because we've got that little split track at the end of Reliquary. Some things are immune to Shaken. Creatures with the... it's one of the monster traits. It'll come back to me. Iron Will. If you have Iron Will, you're immune to being both frightened and shaken. But not to being broken, which is like the step up above frightened, like really, really frightened. So by the end of this track, you would be able to get around that and still terrify someone. Alright, so we've got that. We've got a good base starting point for this item. Let me just check that against Blessed Wind here real quick. Each time you gain an enhancement, choose one from the list below. You'll get a total of 8 if you get this sword at level 1. Or math, I think, but if you get it level 1, 2, or 3, and you go all the way to level 30 in MythCraft, you should have 8 enhancements by the time it's over. Biting Gale offers 5 talents. Blessed Protector offers 4 talents. Windblade offers 4. I keep saying talent because they act like talents, but they're enhancements. Zephyr of Steel offers 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got 2 tracks that offer 5 and 2 tracks that offer 4 for a total of 18. So I might shrink a couple of these just a little bit. I might leave them as is. I'm especially looking at Dominance track because I don't feel like it does a ton of unique stuff other than just the numbers going up from additional talents. So I may squish those down a little bit. You know what? According to the Book of Armaments, there must only be 3, and 5 is right out. So I think as such, 5 has to be right out, right? Let's draft these in a little bit more depth now, and that'll, I think, bring us to the end of this stream. I'm going to use this scratch pad to write it out in like book format later on, but it's just going to be copying, pasting, and then making grammatical tweaks, so I'm not going to bother doing that on stream. But let's see if we can get some get some of these features to be really like usable in someone's game. I am aware making the dominance tree only have 3 would make it the obvious choice for everyone's second tree. I thought about that as well. I think that that's fine, but at the same time, while it could only go to 3, what I would do to counteract that is I wouldn't have Dominance 3 be as strong as, say, Zeal 5. It would be more akin to Zeal 3. So, 3 of the tracks have, like, capstones, and then Dominance is just, like, some aggression if you want that, but it wouldn't give you, like, another capstone ability. Yeah, so that way it kind of keeps the power level balanced across these different options. Alright, base item, Sovereign's Orb. Exactly, right, yeah. So I expect its fighting options are there if you want that, but I think that it has some really cool, like, RP options that, like, personally, if I were playing in this campaign with this item, it obviously depends on, like, my character build and my character's personality, right? But, like, what I'm most drawn to as, like, a player would be going all the way with the reliquary track and going 3 talents in, or 3 enhancements in the authority track. I like auras, but that's usually not, like, my focus when I'm doing when I'm playing a PC. Paladins, or clerics being the exception, because I get my, Spirit Guardians. But, yeah, I think I'd probably focus reliquary and, authority. Reliquary dominance, yeah, I think that could be really fun too. I think all of these combinations work well. If you go full authority and then go some dominance, full authority, some zeal, full zeal, some dominance. I think there's some good synergy between all of these different tracks. Okay, let me just check the wording. I'm not going to be super nitpicky about wording for this. That's when I copy stuff from this mind map over to my scratch pad. But I do want to be sure I'm as close to the, like, on course as I can. We've got some flavor text, and Blessed Wind is a +1 Bastard Sword with a reach of 10 feet. Okay. I will do later. It looks like I got disconnected briefly. Am I still with you? Can you all still hear me? Okay, alright, thanks. Flavor text, very flavorful. Okay, so you have to hold this item in order to gain its benefit, because it's like an orb, right? Like, you literally hold it. So I'm gonna make the base +2 to all of your mental defenses. That's a total of +6 across your 3, across anticipation, logic, and willpower. In D&D, it would probably be very similar. It would just be +2 to, like, wisdom, intelligence, and charisma saving throws. It does take one of your hands, so that could be potentially very restrictive for someone that wants to use, like, a 2-handed weapon, or wants to use a shield and a sword and a holy hand grenade. So you're gonna have to juggle your items a little bit. Not tonight. We're not gonna look at Werewolf tonight, but hopefully I will be able to get another stream going pretty soon for the for some lycanthrope design. Alright, I'm going to give this thing 3 base abilities, I believe. Little minor healing, just a nice buff. Cleansing. Recoup is similar to a short rest in 5th edition terms. In MythCraft, there are 3 types of like recovery. There's there's, what do you call it? Taking a rest, which is your 8-hour ordeal where you have to be asleep for a lot of it. There's recouping, which is a 1-hour rest. And there's catching your breath, which is 5 minutes of just like downtime. Catching your breath mechanically doesn't do anything other than prevent you from dying if you're at 0 hit points. Yeah, exactly, the power nap. So let's say you go down, you know, I'm just gonna do a quick pitch on dying in MythCraft because it's one of my favorite like game design moments that I had. So I am a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I imagine most people in the TTRPG space are. I especially love Boromir's arc in the first movie. It's been out for over 20 years, so I am about to spoil Fellowship of the Ring. Turn this stream off now if you haven't watched Fellowship of the Ring, and go watch Fellowship of the Ring. At the end of Fellowship, Boromir sacrifices himself to save the hobbits, and he takes so many arrows, and he's like obviously dying and bleeding out, but he keeps getting up and taking like another swing, and he keeps going and going and going until he finally expires. I love that, and I hate in D&D how when you reach 0 hit points, you fall unconscious. And then someone can magically heal you with Healing Word, even though you're unconscious, and you pop back up immediately. And then you get knocked down to 0 again, and you fall unconscious again, right? So the up and down, like, I don't like that gameplay in 5th edition. So I was looking for a different way to capture dying to handle 0 hit points. So in MythCraft, when you get down to 0 hit points, you're still conscious, and you can still fight and do whatever you want to. But you start... Yeah, thank you, Pixelgeist. But you start gaining death points. And so if you end your turn with 0 hit points, you get 1 death point. If you take damage and you have 0 hit points, you get 2 death points. And once you gain 8 death points total, then at that point you die. So once you're down to 0, you could go the Boromir route and just go out guns blazing, swords slashing, whatever genre you're playing in. Or you could retreat, trust your allies to finish the fight, and you could start catching your breath. Now, it takes 5 minutes to do that, and so there's a chance that the orcs would come and find you and finish you off anyway. There's a chance that your retreating would cause the rest of your allies not to be able to continue the fight. But because it's just 5 minutes, there's a chance that you'd be able to go and hide and prevent yourself from dying all the way. If you catch your breath, then Gunblade, do both. So if you're at 0 hit points and you start catching your breath, you no longer accumulate death points at the end of each of your turns. Obviously, you stop catching your breath if you resume combat, so there's that give and take. But if you retreat and you finish catching your breath, then you regain 1 hit point. So you're still at death's door, but you're no longer actively dying. Hey, MythCraft, I'm obviously biased, right? Because I'm the lead game designer. Like, I wrote it along with an amazing team of writers. But, I mean, 5e is great. 5e is easy to pick up and play. 5e is what a lot of people know. MythCraft definitely has more character customization. That's its big, like, pitch. That can also be a downside if you want something without, like, as many options. But, benefit of MythCraft is it's all free on our wiki, so srd.mythcraftrpg.com. You can find all of our character options. We haven't quite uploaded all of our monsters, but we're working through and trying to do that. So The whole game is free to play. You can buy books, you can buy PDFs, but if you want just the content, you can find it on our wiki. Yeah, Warlock is one of my favorite classes. I don't play it very much in 5th edition, but I love the invocations and how it's designed. So, alright. My MythCraft, like, sales pitch is over. Let's pop back into the Sovereign's Orb and finish this off. So when you recoup, you can restore 6 hit point, 1d6 hit points to someone. You can spend when I put etc., that's not going to make it into the final rules text. That's just me, that's a note for me to go and look at the actual conditions and figure out exactly which ones should be removable. 2 AP, MythCraft uses action points, so instead of like taking an action, a bonus action, and movement, you just have action points that you can spend on attacks or on movement or on spells. Alright, you can spend 2 AP to touch a creature, remove a negative condition affecting them. MC, DC is difficulty class. MC is Mythcrafter, which is like the dungeon master. Alright, so that's, I think that's a strong but not ridiculous power set to start out with. Again, this hasn't passed through the hands of power gamers like Pippin yet. It will do so before it's in its final form, but I think this is a very good starting point. The DC is determined by the Mythcrafter. So you can do this an unlimited amount of times. I'm wondering if I should put a limit on it. I think I probably should. Penciling in 3 per recoup. Like, I want you to be able to do it a couple times. Yeah. I want you to be able to do it a couple times in the fight. Well, I mean, 2 action points is the same amount of time as swinging a short sword, right? So it depends on if you want to do damage or help your friend. Yeah, the other thing I could do is make it a larger number, make it recharge on a rest, and tie it to the recoup feature as well. Let me actually do that. I think that feels more appropriate. When I say things like, I think that feels more appropriate, you should understand I am not professionally or like academically trained as a game designer. I've read essays on game design. I'm constantly trying to expand my knowledge there. I'm my major was creative writing. My master's is in fiction writing. But it's kind of like, I like to think about it as a native speaker of a language versus someone who learned the language in like an educational setting. Like, someone whose second language is English speaks better English than I do because they understand the rules, because they took time to learn the rules. I just grew up like learning English because it was my environment, and that's kind of my approach to game design. Like, I'm working on my my, I guess, academic credentials in that area, but like reading more content about how game design works but a lot of it is just kind of tried and true, designing games as a kid, designing games as a high schooler, and designing games in college and grad school, tinkering with stuff until we arrived at MythCraft. So, yeah, theory versus application. So all of that said, it feels right to me at this time to say this consumes 1 charge, and this consumes 1 charge. Actually, let me just do it this way. This will be smoother. You have X charges per day, per rest. No, per day. Regaining them at dawn. Now, X charges. I'm thinking about numbers that are used frequently in religious texts that have religious significance. And so as such, I'm also thinking about the divine source in MythCraft. 7 is a number that comes up a lot in the divine source, so 7 feels appropriate to me. It gives you, imagine you've got 3 combats you get into. You could cleanse people 7 times over those 3 combats, like 2.3 times per combat, or you could heal people while recouping about that many times after the fact. So that feels good. I think that's in good shape. Authority track. I'm deleting these top ones as I get there because they're just like scratch pad outline stuff. All right, let's see. I'm gonna put brackets around this to remind myself to go and check later, because there aren't a ton of prayers in the core rulebook. There are going to be some more in Veil of the Eternal Night as well, but I want to check and be sure that the numerical values there for how many things you gain are actually appropriate. Alright, same kind of thing. Your San and San. Same deal. And again, if you're new to MythCraft, you can read the prayers and divine rituals from the core rulebook on our wiki. After Veil of the Eternal Night is written and published, then we will add all of that content to the wiki as well. I don't want to increase charisma and sanity that much more, because there is a world in which a character could have a 16 in charisma, which in MythCraft is ridiculous. That would be like having a 30 or a 32 in charisma in D&D. How do I want to do this? Because if I say gain a +2 to charisma skills and charisma attacks, that's basically just saying your charisma goes up by 2. The only thing that it wouldn't affect is willpower. I'm back and forth here. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute and look through the rest of this outline. Same thing. Exactly. Here's what we're gonna do. Again, I'm gonna bracket that to number check it later. Usually when you gain skill points, it's in pools of, like, you gain +6 skill points and you divvy them up among the skills you want to get better at. It's more like the kind of skill systems that you see in, like, D100 systems, even though it's a D20 system, as opposed to proficiencies from D&D. Yeah, it could be a temporary usage thing. I actually like that a lot. Good idea, Sean. Here, I'll link it in the chat real quick. Here we go. Yeah, you're welcome. Sean, I really like that idea. I think that's exactly how to do it. Now, there was one other. Oh yeah, your shoot, I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm out of Control Z's. I'm gonna scroll back on the YouTube video real quick. Okay, no harm done. I figured it out. So, Authority 3 and 4 kind of got blended together when I was doing some copy and pasting. I think that's probably... You know what? Let's just make it 2 charges and let that be it for Authority 3. How would that influence abilities that are charisma use? Oh. Thank you, Pixelgeist. I'm gonna say that does not increase. It only increases your attribute, not the number of times you can use abilities dependent upon that attribute, because it only increases that attribute for a short time. Thank you for catching that. That would have been something I'd have to go back and fix later. Alright, now I don't mind sanity getting improved, because there's not a lot of ways to do that, aside from allocating your attribute points into sanity, which makes you not as good at the other things that you're working on. Sanity is a new attribute. It's not in the MythCraft base game, but we're adding it to both MythCraft and D&D for our Veil of the Eternal Night campaign, because there's a lot of terrifying things, and I think we've got a really fun system. I'm not going to talk a lot about psyche talents right now. Psyche talents is what you gain when you're to represent like the strain that you're enduring. But there's other videos where we talk about that a little bit. You can see more about that. I was just more worried about charisma because there are several other ways in MythCraft to improve your charisma. So, or to improve your charisma beyond its maximum attribute cap. Yeah, the skeleton explosion one is really fun. The bell tolls. Yeah, I just realized something else that I want to make sure is represented in this aura, or in this item. And that's your ability to increase your divine power, which is something that you get if you're a cleric or if you're learning divine magic specifically. I don't want to say that you just get an extra divine power for every enhancement that you take, because that would push you above the maximum possible divine power. I think what I do want to do, though, I'm going to expand this a little bit. If you don't have divine power, now you do. Yeah, I think authority is the main one where I want divine power to go up. I think that's the big benefit of authority. I think I will let that one just be straight up. You gain one more divine power. Alright, I think... Oh wait, Authority 5 isn't even touched yet. Let's do that real quick. Yeah, that feels good. I think that we're good to go on that track. So let me just... Oop. This is just the, I guess the perfectionist in me, but I like to make sure everything is neatly linked. It's not a problem on this because this is pretty obvious and not a very large track, but on some of the classes, especially the classes that let you do webbed talents and move from one track to another track, I find the arrows very helpful. If you have a copy of the core rulebook, the tables that you can see at the end of chapter 3 are pulled directly from these mind maps, and then just I think changed so it's just like the name of the talent, and then tidied up a little bit and beautified a little bit so that they look good in the book. But yeah, those are pulled directly from like the original mind maps. Alright, authority is good. Let's move on to reliquary. Connect your essence to the essence of those who came before you. Oh, whoops. I got ahead of myself again. The above options. Make that the following options. Now I should be fine to delete that. Just in case I'm gonna pop it over here for now. I'll delete it at the end. Okay. You gain skill points in the following options. At the beginning of each day, you gain skill points in the following options. Let's do 2d6. A little bit less random. You're more likely to average 6 to 8 points. Night, Brandon. Hope you have a good weekend. See you around. Yeah. Otherwise, like 1d10, it's purely random between 1 and 10. But this has like that nice little kind of bell curve, so you're gonna have a good spread of talent point or of skill points, but it'll usually land right around 7. So you gain, yeah, that's a really cool ability. I'm really happy with that one. Just some extra luck points. I mean, that's very helpful, but it doesn't feel very cool the way the first one does. So I'm trying to think of some flavor I can add, or like one more bonus that I can add to make that really feel nice. Maybe some divine power. Or make it +1 luck point, because luck points are relatively powerful. They let you re-roll your d20s, potentially change a crit fail into a crit. So I think 1 luck point and gives you a little bit more control over which skills you get from the first ability up there. Let's see, this one it looks like more skill points, and you gain more control over allocation. Oh, that's what I just did though. I'm gonna have to reread the psionic spells. I can't remember exactly how they work off the top of my head. That's gonna take a while. I'm not gonna do that on stream. I am too. I think this is a really fun track. I'm trying to think what to do for Reliquary 2 or 3, because I added this ability here that I was going to do in Reliquary 3. Aurora, that's amazing. That's it, at least for this draft. And that also makes it a really great item for an Oracle build, because Oracles rely on luck. That's their main stat, and so they get a lot of luck points. Yeah, I hope that happens, Jan. Hope that you're... Or Jan, I'm sorry, I might have been saying it wrong the entire time. Yeah, really hope you have fun with the campaign. Let's see, when you use a luck point. That is awesome. Good call, Aurora. Yeah, okay, this is relatively straightforward, but again, I'm gonna have to consult the psionic spells. Exactly, yeah, you've got a council of elders, and they all disagree on how things are supposed to work. Precognition is tough in a role-playing game. It works better in a novel, because how can the dungeon master know what to prepare for? Yes, Jan. In America, Jan is usually like short for Janice, as opposed to Jan or Johan. So I apologize. Let's see. So you can cast like post-cognition, or exactly how that works I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to reread the psionics section, but basically you'll be able to see something that happened a long time ago by spending one of your charges. So you could do that. I'm gonna say by spending 2 of your charges. That's relative. That could be quite powerful. So you can do that potentially up to 4 times per day. Yeah, augury spell is a good way to do precognition. I'll look at that. I believe augury is a divine ritual in, or maybe it's a primal invocation in MythCraft, but we have something like that that'll work. There we go. So that's really fun. I really like that reliquary feature there because it allows you to eventually just have a ridiculous number of skills. All right, well, good. Thank you for bearing with me either way. All right, reliquary 5A's taken care of. Yeah, okay, so I think I've got this for 5B. Another one. I'm totally blanking. There we go. There we go. I think that's really fun and captures the flavor of the spirits in the orb kind of directing you how to improve your craft. So it doesn't give you like an entire new class talent, but it gives you like a portion of one. I know a lot of you in the stream play D&D, so in D&D terms that would be like gaining a feat, but instead of the whole feat, in 5th edition, instead of gaining the whole feat, you gain like 1 bullet point of that feat. Alright, just gonna make a couple notes to myself to remind myself that these ones still need a little bit more drafting. They're not quite up to par yet. Yeah, exactly. So you can, once per week, a different mentor comes forward and kind of helps you respec yourself, like kind of do a light ability grab based on what dungeon you're about to raid or what challenge you're about to face in the next week. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. We can still delete that. Aura enhancements. Yep, 2 auras from the zealot list. I mean, if you're a zealot, you just get more auras. I think that's fine. I do love the idea of the range, but thinking about it, like, zealots don't automatically get more than 1 aura, so this still helps them. And yeah, you can use either of those auras, 2 per rest. No, I don't want to have too much to track, so by spending a charge. Now, this one I'm going to have to reread exactly what the aura enhancements do. And I feel a sneeze coming on, I apologize. And now it's stuck. It's the worst feeling. Alright. Let's see. I think it's just going to be gain an aura enhancement talent. I will boot my own nose next time, thank you. I think that's fine. I'm just gonna have to check balance before I lock that one in on my draft Google Doc. That one's pretty straightforward. That's easy. Gain 1 more aura. Gain 2 more charges. I'm worried that this isn't flavorful enough, but at the same time, like, zealot auras are exactly what this orb is all about, right? It's an extension of your will over the battlefield. So I'm gonna leave it as is, and if the rest of my design team is like, this isn't interesting enough, I'm sure we'll figure something out. It might just be adding some flavor text and then still having it do exactly this. That's probably where we'll end up, but I think it's okay for now. And then yeah, actually, that's good. And then this 5th one, I just thought of one more thing I can do to make it a little special. A lot of them give conditions instead of numerical values, so I'm not sure how effective that's going to be. Some of them give shield HP, which is like temp HP. Yeah, a straightforward track can be a good thing. Some of them give shield HP, so doubling numerical values there is pretty strong. But the other thing that I can do with it is absolutely. I mean, one of the big things about MythCraft is like options, so I definitely hear that. We have some pre-generated characters that are called Legends of MythCraft. They come with like their own backstories, and I wish I had one right here. I would like hold it up and flip through it, but again, they're on the wiki. You've got like their backstory and like what options they take at each level. So if you've got someone at your table who is like kind of prone to choice paralysis, then they can just take a legend and play the legend. They can change out the backstory and personality if they want to. They can change out like the lineage if they want to, and then once they get comfortable with the MythCraft system, then they can diverge from the level up process that is written whenever they feel ready to. So whether that's level 6 or level 18, they can start kind of choosing their own path at their own leisure. I mean, we've got 10 published legends, so there's room to pick. From this, again, just like a way to kind of lightly reassign the abilities that you have based on what you have coming up. So yeah, that is a little more straightforward. I'll just have to do some narrative lore there to make it pop a little. Last one, and I may delete that 4th one too, because the Holy Book of Armaments, 3 shall only be said when it, no, 2 shall only be said when it is followed by 3. 4 shall not be said. Some kind of like light cantripy thing here. You are the hand grenade. Yeah, ant is anticipation. That's the defense that is linked with awareness, which is like pseudo wisdom. The breakdown isn't quite one for one with D&D, but you can kind of think of it in those terms. On a hit, this is an artifact, so it's okay for it to be a little bit stronger than normal. We'll see if Grant yells at me for that. I don't think he will. I think that's fine. Grant is the CEO. He does a lot of the lore and balance stuff as well. I'm the lead game designer, but he and I have both been doing game design for all of our lives, and so we do a lot of back and forth collaboration with this kind of stuff. Alright, that is set. This one could hit more people. Gonna do less damage. I've got one more thing to add to it in just a second. I had a thought that escaped, so I'll just keep going for now, see if it comes back. Oh yeah, I was just gonna make this, I decided 20 feet wasn't far enough, so I'm gonna up it to 60. Alright, when, let's see, one charge, when you... Also... just boost that a little bit. Demoralized makes the enemy easier to hit. Frightened makes the enemy unable to move closer to you and makes their attacks worse. And shaken makes their attacks more worse, but they're not afraid of moving closer to you. So 3 nice little debuffs there. And yeah, I think Dominance 3 is just going to be gain... gain an aura from the anti-essence track. I'm gonna have to reread that because I think the anti-essence track is kind of complicated. It's like you just get one aura, but then you make it more unique in different ways. To one enemy that you hit. Thank you, Pixelgeist, once again. Gain an aura from the Vessel anti-essence track. Check Vessel. If it's not that, then I'll just... Vessel is kind of our equivalent of Warlock. We don't have a Warlock per se in MythCraft. Quick lore aside. So a warlock in D&D is a being, or is a hero who has made a pact with a planar entity. I know you know this. I'm just making the comparison. In MythCraft, that could just be a cleric. A cleric is someone who either makes a pact with a planar entity, or worships a planar entity, or has some other arrangement to get divine power. So the lore of a warlock in the lore of a warlock in MythCraft. I'm sorry, the lore of a warlock in D&D would just fall under cleric in MythCraft. A vessel in MythCraft is someone who steals power from deities and other planar entities. So they, like, because deities are so powerful and have so much magic, if you take a little bit of their magic, then maybe they won't notice. Hope they don't notice, because if they do, then bad things can happen. And that's how the occult source of magic works. It's got strong abilities, it's got some really cool, crazy powers, but there's a chance that the entities that you steal magic from find out and get really pissed off, and then you've got other problems to deal with. So the Vessel is the class that deals most directly with occult magic. All of that said, thank you, I'm glad you like it. All of that said, I think what I'm going to do, instead of saying it's the Vessel Anti-Essence track, is I'm just going to make up a new aura specific to this. 2 charges. And this is going to affect enemies. Vulnerable 1 means that you're more likely to crit against them. They also take 1 more radiant damage. So if a creature is vulnerable radiant 1, then if I normally crit just on a 20, I would crit on a 19 or 20, and I would also deal 1 more damage based on that vulnerable number. So it adds that. Let's see. Create an aura class for and has a radius 10 feet. I'm gonna check my book real quick and be sure that's. I think those are the same parameters for all other auras in the Zealot class. I just want to be sure that's consistent. Here we go. Aura. You may activate an aura by spending 3 AP on your turn. It lasts for 10 minutes or until you choose to end it early. It's a 10-foot radius. Yep, okay. Alright, enemies in the aura become vulnerable radiant 1 unless immune. They are also... No. No, this isn't a buff one. This is an aggression one. There we go. And it doesn't need to be as strong as the others. I think that's plenty strong enough. Yeah, and you shall not count past 3. 3 shall be the final number. 1 and then followed by 2, which is then followed by 3. Alright, enough Monty Python. I think that's it. Obviously there's a couple things I need to check with... yes, if a creature is already vulnerable to radiant, then that goes up. Gain as opposed to become would be the operating word there. And there's a clause in that in like the rules section of the core rulebook that I believe would clarify that. So I need to do a little bit more digging on the psionic magic here that is going to go into the reliquary, and I need to check these numbers for the authority track and be sure that those are solid. But that's it. That's the Sovereign's Orb, and I think it turned out really well. I'm really excited to get that plugged into the game. get heroes using it to smite Dracula and Death and all of the other mythic monsters that they're going to have to square off against. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining me in this stream. I had a really fun time. It was really great talking with you all while I was doing that. If you're not in our Discord, please join discord.gg/mythcraft. That's where we're at. You can @ me and we can keep the conversation going. We've got a really great community there. Also, if you haven't, be sure to check out our Kickstarter. TheEternalNight.com is where you can find that. We have just unlocked the lycanthrope, which is amazing. Hopefully I'll be back soon to do a preliminary walkthrough of designing the lycanthrope. I won't go through like a full draft, but maybe I might be able to outline the whole thing. We'll see. I'm not committing to anything at this time. But yeah, this was really fun. I hope to do more of these streams. Thank you, Jan, Aurora, Pixelgeist, everyone else who was in this stream at some point. Yeah, really appreciate it, and I will talk to you all next time.